Welcome back. Time for this week's Capitol Report with Pat McGuigan of CapitolBeatOK.com. Pat, the talk about the political landscape in Oklahoma, the general election now less than 2 months away. Talk about that.
Yeah, the three most interesting races, the big races. They may or may not be close in November. Fallin versus Dorman for governor. Fallin this last week was touting her support from small business. Dorman's planning to have birthday parties in both Oklahoma City and Tulsa in the coming week. There's conservative ambivalence about Fallin, although by the end, despite Dorman's ability to appeal on guns and on Common Core and a handful of other issues, conservatives will probably consolidate behind her, so she still has to be rated as having the edge. The transparency issues have some potential, at least in the political class, to erode her support. What's intriguing to me is that the governor and her people are feeling it necessary to respond to some of Dorman's criticisms. The reason that's interesting is when I was younger, and many viewers will remember, as recently as a decade ago, don't respond,
Right.
Don't respond to criticism. But in the age of the internet and constant repetition, even beyond what you can do with advertising,
They feel like they have to.
they feel like they have to. Yeah. So there's that race. Secondly, the Senate race between Lankford and Johnson. You have James Lankford certainly is consolidating his base. Got the Eagle Forum endorsement this past week. Senator Johnson's doing interesting things like going to Yukon, Republican country, and giving speeches and seeking support. I think that the president's moves on the Islamic State and his determination to use military force might be an interesting subset in this issue. Lankford was immediately pretty supportive of what the president had to say, unlike some of the Republicans were saying too little too late. So it'll be interesting to see how Johnson handles that. Finally, the 5th District race is kind of quiet right now between Steve Russell and Patrice Douglas, so we'll just save that later for later.
Right. Well, you mentioned the president's speech on ISIS, combating ISIS. Give me your thoughts, your reaction. It's obviously getting a lot of attention right now. What are your thoughts on what you say?
I'm like a lot of other people. I think that, well, first of all, in Syria, there's one American general put it very well. He said, there are bad guys, really bad guys, and truly awful guys. Right. Those are basically the three factions that have some military force, and it's why the poor people of Syria are so enslaved right now to the warfare. There are facts that need to be recognized. This is expanded military action in 2 different countries. That sounds familiar. Yeah, sounds like George Bush in the early 2000s. There's an attempt at military triangulation to maybe enhance the opponents to President Assad and at the same time not be helpful to ISIS. Finally, Senator Inhofe, it is interesting to have Senator Inhofe saying, let's make it clear that the president has the authority to do this. He wants to be supportive. I thought that in some ways the best aspect of the president's speech was the last few paragraphs where in essence he was talking about American exceptionalism a la Ronald Reagan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of them come back to that, don't they? All right, you can read more about this and other topics at CapitolBeatOK.com. For Pat McGuigan, I'm Alex Cameron. Have a great day. Yeah.